All right, so what we're going to do today is you guys all came to learn something and share. As Jim said, we believe in a community. We believe in an ecosystem. We believe in people working together.
Checkpoint has moved to the cloud environment. We have a lot of on-premise stuff still. They still make a lot of their money on our quantum product, which is our firewalls. But to that point, though, firewalls are not going away. Doesn't matter if they're on-premise or in the cloud. They're going to be around. Even if your own office, I mean, you're going to have cameras, data access systems, anything like that. They're all going to get compromised at some point in time. If you can have a firewall in front of them besides using the vendor stuff, your environment that you can control is going to be more secure than just relying on other people. So that's kind of why I think the firewall is very important. It's going to be around forever. Even relying on a vendor's firewall in the cloud, you might want to look at another layer on top of that as well, besides just using the native tools.
So how open are cloud providers to sharing the ability for a customer to actually do that and map policies from their on-prem where they've got a sense of their governance and their protection?
With Checkpoint, we can actually deploy the same firewall that we have on premise into the cloud and use those same objects and put the same rules out there. A lot of the big breaches nowadays that are happening is because somebody in their code's leaving an S3 bucket open, and they can go scan that code, and next thing you know, you have all that data. Do we know what that data is? No, but that's what happens after a breach.
How organizations get attacked, right? What's an intrusion point? They know they got attacked, but they don't recognize that it was a common intrusion point. So I think you can dig into that and share a lot of great info.
There's really two themes that I've seen in the initial intrusion point for organizations that experience a breach. Usually is either social engineering, right? We've talked about that quite a bit today. You talked about, user involvement is like 90% of breaches, right? I couldn't agree more. But social engineering or a vulnerability exploitation. People aren't on top of their vulnerability management, and so there's enough attack surface out there for me to find something that's juicy, right? And there's enough presence out there from every organization that if I'm trying to just find intrusions in where I can do some disruption, maybe I'm financially motivated and I want to charge or want to have a ransom demand, those type of things.
Getting people to spend money on things that they didn't realize were important, but it is. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Identifying that data, where it sits, who has access to it is really important. Start with logical access controls, and you want to have data stored, processed, and transferred identified. You want to look at your vendors as well. So you want to make sure that you understand your vendors' destruction policies, retention policies, how long they're keeping it, and if they're sending data to their vendors as well, right? So a lot of leaks happen that way.
The dot I want to connect is if you have old data that you've forgotten about and it had the credentials of somebody who's long left the organization and you forgot to shut that account down, you just gave somebody a back door to your front door, right? And I'm sure you all see that. How should they map an effective way to bring in insurance? Should they bring in insurance, and how much does GRC reduce their rate? I bet you it does. So give us a story there.
So cyber insurance companies have developed a set of questions that they're going to send you before they issue you any policy. If you cannot show a cyber insurance carrier your policies, your controls, how you're identifying your own risks, right? So if something goes wrong, and it will, and it always does, even to your own policies, what are your mitigating efforts? What are your compensating controls? You have to be able to show that. And of course, from a perspective of security, where's your perimeter security diagram? So keep those perimeter secure diagrams very, very current. I mean, firewalls are involved here, data transfer processing and storage is involved here as well, because those auditors want to know, and those people issuing the cybersecurity policy want to know, how are you protecting your house, right? How are you protecting your shop? Who's got access to it?
I know you guys have a big story with phishing. How do we break that down, right? Is it all education? Would that save the world? Would we all be out of business? Talk about AI. What if everybody stopped clicking? Would we all be out of business?
I would say if you looked at your spam inbox on your Google Gmail, 98% of it's all spam. It's getting into that folder of the 5 emails that you get. But now you still need to be wary of those 5 emails. Do I know this person? Do I know the link? Where's that link taking me to? Mm-hmm. The other part of that too now is QR codes. Do you going to trust what's on the other end of that QR code? I mean, that could be a new phish scheme that comes through. You get the email with the QR code in it. Well, now where's that QR code going? So what we could do, with AI and whatever, is you can look and actually have pieces in place that will actually look at those for you before it gets clicked on and tell you if it's bad or not.
Help us all understand that. When should we bring in a helping hand?
There's a big play for the MDR space out there, and thank you for calling out that we are an MDR and MSSP shop. So we do manage vulnerability and primary offering is MDR, so managed detection and response. When you think about the resources out there today, let's just pretend that the average resource is, I don't know, 80 grand, 100 grand, right? You're spending $500,000, if not more, between tech and people to create that product, right? To create this SOC product or security operations center product. So meaning 24/7 monitoring. It's just so much cheaper out there to buy it from somebody, and that's their shtick. That's what they do, right? They're looking for what's best, what's next. We're always looking for what tech will enable us to give us a fighting chance of seeing an anomalous something in your environment versus you having to do all those things. Slice and dice MITRE. Can I see all the TTPs from MITRE in my organization? Does my SOC have that visibility? Am I pulling in authentication? Am I pulling in syslogs? Am I pulling in email? Am I pulling in everything to give me a fighting chance of seeing that intrusion in the organization? That's typically the big issue when we digest what happened to the pen test. Is there are visibility gaps.
How do you fight back with insurance companies when they're trying to be tricky? I mean, is there a middle ground? Can you negotiate? Give us a little bit of advice on that.
You have your house in order. You have your policies in place. You have your controls that you're monitoring regularly. You're watching your access. You have data recovery in place, right? And retention cycles in place. And you're not keeping data that you shouldn't have.
One more round for checkpoint. IRM authority. The dollars for clarity and order.